محمد ہمارے.
مزید نئے بیانات سننے کے لیے چینل راہ ہدایت بیان کو ضرور سبسکرائب کریں.
الحمدللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم في سبيل الله ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يجتمع غبار في سبيل الله ودخان جهنم أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. قابل احترام بزرگ اور بھائیوں، مسلمان یا مہاجر ہو یا انصار ہو، کیونکہ ایمان والے کی تو دو شان ہیں، یا تو احیاء دین کے لیے ہجرت کرے یا ہجرت کرنے والوں کی نصرت کرے. اس لیے صحابہ کرام میں دو طبقے ملتے ہیں، جنہوں نے ہجرت کی حبشہ کی اور جنہوں نے ہجرت کی مکے سے مدینے کی.
A Muslim is either regarded to be a muhajir or ansar. He has to be in one of these two categories. A muhajir is that person who emigrates, who leaves his home and goes in the path of Allah for the sake of bringing deen alive in the entire world, ihya al-deen. Or a Muslim has to be an ansar, meaning a person who is making nusra and helping that person, those who have made hijrat in the path of Allah to establish deen. Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, they were in one of two categories only. They were either regarded to be amongst the muhajirin or amongst the ansar. Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, first they made hijrat, they emigrated, they left their homes in Makkah Mukarramah, they made hijrat, they emigrated to Habasha. And thereafter, Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum emigrated from Makkah Mukarramah to Medina Munawwarah. And the people of Medina, they later on came to be known as the Ansar, those who helped the Muhajirin to establish the deen of Allah Ta'ala. So the Sahaba were generally classified into one of two groups, either being amongst the Muhajirin or amongst the Ansar. Therefore Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that if it were not for the amal of hijrah, emigrating with the deen of Allah, I would have been a person from amongst the Ansar. This is to emphasize how important hijrah is. And Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala and Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, they made hijrat for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he made hijrah, he went to Iraq, or he left Iraq. In a similar way, Lut alayhi salatu wasalam also made hijrah, he left Iraq. And Ibrahim alayhi salam went to Baytul Maqdis, to Jerusalem. The Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, their hijrah was mukammal. Meaning they made hijrat and they left their homes permanently for the sake of establishing the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
ہجرت کا عمل اللہ کو پسند ہے. حضرت محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم سب سے اونچے شہر میں، سب سے مکرم شہر میں یعنی مکہ مکرمہ میں پیدا ہو رہے ہیں. جس مکہ مکرم کو اللہ پاک نے اپنے گھر کے لیے منتخب کیا ہو، اپنے نبی کی خدمت اور وجود کے لیے پسند کیا ہو، اور جس مکہ مکرمہ کو قرآن کے اتارنے کے لیے پسند کیا ہو، جس مکہ مکرمہ کو زمزم کے وجود کے لیے پسند کیا ہو، اور جس مکہ مکرمہ کو ساری دنیا کے حجاج کو اور عمار کو بلانے کے لیے پسند کیا ہو، اللہ کے نبی حضرت محمد.
The amal of hijrah is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Makkah Mukarramah was beloved to Allah ta'ala, and Allah ta'ala had chosen Makkah Mukarramah as the place in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be born. Allah Ta'ala had chosen Makkah Mukarramah to be the greatest of all cities. Allah Ta'ala had chosen Makkah Mukarramah to be the place in which the wujud of Rasulullah took place. He came into existence. And Allah Ta'ala chose Makkah Mukarramah to be that place in which the beginning of revelation of Wahi had taken place in Makkah Mukarramah. Allah Ta'ala had chosen Makkah Mukarramah as the place in which the blessed water and the well of Zamzam would come into existence. Allah Ta'ala had chosen Makkah Mukarramah as that place in which Hujjaj, Hajis and Mu'tamirin, those performing Umrah, would come from the four corners of the world to Makkah Mukarramah to go on Hajj and Umrah. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, despite Makkah being so beloved to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam still left Makkah Mukarramah and made hijrat and emigrated for the sake of establishing the deen of Allah.
मालूम हुआ कि हिजरत करना खुदा को पसंद है, अपने नबी से हिजरत करवा दी और उस मुक़द्दस जगह को छोड़ते हुए अल्लाह के नबी को नागवारी है, लेकिन अल्लाह का हुक्म और अल्लाह का अम्र मुक़द्दम है। तबई तौर पर आदमी जहाँ पैदा होता है, जहाँ वो रहता है, वहाँ से उनसियत हो जाती है। फिर मक्का मुकर्रमा, जिस जगह खुदा ने बैतुल मामूर को उतारा हो फरिश्तों के जय काबे को।
So from this we learn how beloved hijrah is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore Allah ta'ala made Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam emigrate. This was the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naturally, where a person has a natural love and affiliation to his hometown, that place in which a person was born, a person naturally has an affiliation and love for it. But still Allah Ta'ala made Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sacrifice his hometown of Makkah Mukarramah and make hijrah. And that Makkah Mukarramah was that place in which the Baytul Ma'mur was there. In a similar way, Makkah Mukarramah is that place in which the Hujjaj from the four corners of the world, they congregate there. Makkah Mukarramah was that place which Allah Ta'ala had chosen for the Kaaba and the Qibla to be. But still Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left Makkah Mukarramah. So here we learn that how beloved it is for a person to sacrifice his life, his wealth, his health, and also his hometown for the sake of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore we as the ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we are mujahid and muhajir, meaning we are those people who strive for the sake of establishing the deen of Allah. And we are muhajir, we are those people who leave our homes for the sake of bringing the entire deen of Allah ta'ala alive in the entire world. We are actually born for this effort. Therefore Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran that kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas, that you, O Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are the best of all nations who have been sent for the benefit of the entire mankind. Therefore Allah Ta'ala emphasizes linnas, meaning the general masses. Allah Ta'ala has sent us to bring faida and benefits to the entire masses, and in the entire human race is included every single male, every single female, every single child, every person who is a city dweller, every person who is a villager, included in the word nas, human beings. Mankind is every single wealthy person, every single poor person, every slave, every free person, a person from every tabqa, a person of every different categories included in the word nas, mankind. So we have been sent to give ifadah, to give benefit to people. We are the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We haven't been sent in dunya to stay in one place for our entire lives. We have been sent rather to move in the entire world, to make gush in the entire world, and to establish the deen of Allah Ta'ala in the entire world, to sacrifice our lives, our wealth, our health, our faculties, to bring alive deen in the entire mankind till the day of Qiyamah.
हमारी हिजरत तो भलाइयों को फैलाने के लिए, बुराइयों को मिटाने के लिए, चुनाचे हमारा काम ही ये है। ये उम्मत तो भलाइयों का हुक्म करेगी और बुराइयों से रोकेगी और रुकेगी। हदीस पाक में आता है, सबसे ऊंची गर्दनें क़यामत में मुअज़्ज़िनीन की होंगी। अतवलुन्नास उनुक़न यौमल क़ियामति अल मुअज़्ज़िनून। सबसे ऊंची गर्दनें क़यामत में अजान देने वालों की होंगी। क्यों? वो अल्लाह की बड़ाई का ऐलान करते हैं, वो शहादत रसूल पेश करते हैं।
What's the objective of a person making hijrah and being in a path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The objective of this is to bring good actions into being and also become a means of sin stopping in the entire world. This is the objective, meaning our bringing good actions into being in the entire ummah and becoming a means of sins being stopped in the entire ummah. Therefore, if a person looks at the example of a mu'adhin, he is a person who is calling people on a daily basis. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith has given great glad tidings to the mu'adhineen, those who give adhan. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned that أَطْوَلُ النَّاسِ أَعْنَاقًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ الْمُؤَذِّنُونَ. The people who shall have the longest necks on the day of Qiyamah, meaning thereby that those who should have the highest status on the day of Qiyamah are the mu'adhins, those who used to call out the adhan. What's the reason that Allah Ta'ala has given them this status? The reason is that on a daily basis they are bearing testimony to the oneness of Allah. On a daily basis they are bearing testimony to the prophethood, the risalah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. On a daily basis they are calling people towards khair, towards good actions. They are calling everyone, the young, the old, every single human being, every single jinnat is being called towards khair and towards good actions. So a mu'adhin who gives the adhan, he is actually turning people's attention away from the things of this world towards the life of the hereafter, towards good action, towards amal salihah. Therefore, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, when a mu'adhin calls people, gives the adhan, and people respond to his calling and come to the masjid to perform their salah and do other good actions, then he, the mu'adhin, gets the reward of all those who responded to his adhan, to his call and came to the masjid. He also gets the reward of their salah, of their ibadah as well. So this mu'adhin is actually turning people's attention away from the things of this dunya towards the ibadat of Allah, towards the recognition of Allah, towards tilawat of Quran, recitation of Quran, towards the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards an environment of khidmah, of serving people. When he gives the adhan, he becomes a means of those masjids that have been closed to open for the sake of the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And people's attention now goes towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So much so that even children at home as well, when they hear the adhan, what do they say? They say, "Mommy, the adhan has been given, it's time to perform salah." "Oh my beloved father, adhan has been given, time to perform salah." "Oh my beloved brother, oh my beloved sister, adhan has been given, it's time for us to perform salah." So this adhan is actually a da'wah towards all good action. This adhan which is being given is a means of rejuvenating the Imaan of a person, turning a person's attention towards good actions. This adhan is the greatest form of da'wah.
अजान तो आई नहीं, नमाज आ गई। अल्लाह के नबी अलैहि सलाम सहाबा को लेकर बैठे, नमाज के लिए लोगों को कैसे बुलाएं? जब अजान नहीं आई थी और नमाज आ गई, अब नमाज का मशवरा हो रहा है। मालूम हुआ दावत के काम के लिए बेचैनी, बेकरारी, अंदर की तहरीक ज़रूरी है। यूँ कहे अंदर की बेचैनी और बेकरारी पर अल्लाह पाक दावत के काम के लिए हमको पसंद करेंगे। और दावत के लिए कबूल फरमाएंगे। सहाबा परेशान, क्या करें, राय दे रहे हैं। बाद ने राय दी आग लगाई जाए ताकि धुआं देखकर लोग पहचान लें कि नमाज का वक्त हो गया। अल्लाह के नबी अलैहिस्सलाम को यह राय पसंद नहीं आई। ये तो मजूसियों का तरीका है, इसलिए कि इस्लाम तो आग।
When Allah Ta'ala had given the command of Salah, that Salah is now compulsory, now a mashwara had taken place between Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Sahaba Radiallahu Ta'ala anhum, like what should be done to call people towards Salah. And this was a becheni, a restlessness which was in the heart of Sahaba Radiallahu Ta'ala anhum and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this is the system of Allah, that for the sake of da'wat, we have to have this becheni and restlessness in our heart. And upon this restlessness, for the sake of da'wat, Allah Ta'ala opens roads of guidance of Hidayat. So anyway, mashwara took place that what should be done to call people for salah. So rays were given, rays were taken, opinions were taken. One opinion came that we should light a fire. By means of the smoke which emanates from the fire, people will look at that smoke and they will know it is time for salah, and they will respond and they will come for salah. When this opinion was given, then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not accept it. Why? Because this was the methodology of the Majusi, the fire worshippers. And Islam had come to extinguish all types of fire worship. Therefore, before the advent of Islam, the people who used to worship fire were the people of Persian origin. That in Iran they had fires burning 3,000 years continuously. But upon the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, one of the miracles and mu'jizat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is that fire which continued to be burning for 3,000 years, which people used to worship, the fire worshippers used to worship, that fire was extinguished at the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Anyway, others gave other opinions. Some said let us hoist a flag. When people see that flag, then that will be a sign that it is time for salah. They will come to the masjid for salah. But this as well Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not accept. Few other decisions, few other rays and opinions were given, but Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not accept any of those opinions. By the way, Hazrat mentions as well that sometimes Satis complain that our mashwaras are getting very long. Our mashwaras are very long. Let us think regarding this amal of calling people for salah, this amal of dawat. How long was the mashwara of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Sahaba Radiallahu Ta'ala? And this mashwara was lengthened because of the becheni and the restlessness in the hearts of Sahaba Radiallahu Ta'ala for salah. And this is the system of Allah, that when a person is restless for the sake of the deen of Allah, then Allah Ta'ala opens different avenues. When people are restless for the sake of da'wah, then Allah Ta'ala opens different doors of hidayat, of guidance. So this is something which we have to create within ourselves, the internal restlessness of the heart. And upon this restlessness, Allah Ta'ala opened the amal of adhan upon a Sahabi by the name of Abdullah bin Zayd bin Abdi Rabbihi. Commentators of hadith have mentioned, ulama have mentioned that this Sahabi Abdullah bin Zayd bin Abdi Rabbihi, if it wasn't for this entire mashwara of how to call people for salah, which later on became known as adhan, if it wasn't for this mashwara regarding adhan, then the name of this Sahabi Abdullah bin Zayd bin Abdi Rabbi would have most probably been unknown to the entire ummah, because he wasn't amongst the famous Sahaba, he wasn't amongst the Khulafa al-Rashidin, he wasn't amongst the Ashara Mubashara. Then those 10 Sahaba were given the glad tidings of Jannah all at one time. He wasn't amongst the Qurra, the famous ulama amongst the Sahaba. He was an ordinary Sahaba. Although no Sahabi is really ordinary, every Sahabi is special. And the status of the lowest Sahabi is greater than the greatest Qutb who came after Sahaba. The lowest Sahabi, his status is more higher than the greatest pious person who came in the Ummah after Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. So, but the system of Allah is that just like how amongst Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, the prophets, prophets have different ranks and stages and darajat. In a similar way, after Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were those who were more senior, who had a higher rank and status than others. Just like an example of this is the Quran as well. There's certain surahs of the Quran which have a higher status than other surahs, a higher virtue than other surahs, like Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillah, like Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Like Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, there were those who have a higher status, the Ulul Azam, there were those who have a higher status than other Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. The similar way with Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. Every Sahabi, no Sahabi is ordinary, every Sahabi is extraordinary, but there were certain Sahaba who had a higher rank than the other Sahaba. One example of this is Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He was the greatest amongst all the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And this is our aqidah, this is our belief that every Sahabi is just, every Sahabi was pious, but there were certain Sahaba who were more senior than others. One occasion, a Sahabi with the name of Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was walking in front of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam witnessed this, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam addressed him and told him that, "Oh Abu Darda, then, oh Abu Darda, do not walk in front of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Why? He is more senior to you, and he is more senior to you as far as dunya and akhirat is concerned. As far as this world, as far as the life of the hereafter, as far as Jannah, he will be ahead of you there as well." So we learn that this is the system of Allah, that Allah Ta'ala gives superiority to certain individuals of a category over other individuals of the same category, like ayats of the Quran, like surahs of the Quran, like Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, even ahadith as well. There are certain hadiths which are special hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in a similar way as well, coming back to this incident, that the Mashwara was taking place regarding how to call people to Salah, and Allah Ta'ala opened up the amal of Adhan on the heart of this Sahabi via a dream, Abdullah bin Zayd bin Abdi Rabbihi.
मालूम हुआ दावत के काम में एक दूसरे की खिदमात को सराहा जाएगा। हज़रत अबू दरदा रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु के वाक़ये से सिद्दीक़